Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CMAC Fresno. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, that's flying. Yes, flying in the air. We have two individuals here. We have Doug Betts, who is wearing a different hat today. Doug is on the crew here at San Joaquin Spotlight, but he's also a pilot, and you're also the president of the Bill Smilie Aviation Center, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I should say welcome back to the show.
Yeah.
And then we have Michael Murphy, and this young man impresses me because he's 14 years old, and in a little bit we're going to watch him behind a real airplane, in the cockpit, flying the airplane. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So this is a unique partnership we've got going over here. How did this partnership come about?
Well, Miko has quite an extensive background with his aviation interest, and that interest grew to such a point that he came out to Chandler Airport trying to take lessons.
Can I stop you there and say aviation interest? I mean, how old are you?
14.
14 years old, and he has an aviation interest, and he's in the airplane. Is this unusual? I mean, do kids at this age, well, young men at this age, want to get behind the plane and actually do it?
Well, this is not 14 in an aviation interest. This is 14 and has had an aviation interest for years.
Oh, okay.
This is not new for him.
When did you want to get involved in this?
Since I was a baby, I guess. That's when I just moved to Fresno, and I was able to see the airplanes fly over my house.
So you're by Chandler Airport, and you're seeing these planes, and what are you thinking?
I just always ask, what kind of plane is that? And I wonder what they're doing in there, and I want to be up there with that person.
When did you take it to the next level? Because, you know, I was young too, and, you know, we have dreams, and we want to do all these things, and sometimes what happens is life gets in the way, and you don't follow those dreams, but you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
How?
Well, I was about 10, and I just always think, like, I have so many years until I can start flying real airplanes. And then I just looked into it, and finally I was able to get in and went out for my first lesson, and that went by smooth. I went by for a second one, and I couldn't do it because I didn't have an ID. So,
Doug, he's so calm. I mean, you know, he's so calm, and the way he talks is, you know, it's like a surgeon, little by little, you know. What do you have to say about him? How impressed are you with this young man?
Well, I'm very impressed, and it's to give a little piece of where it comes from. I think part of his background is flight simulator on his computer, but most people would go to a computer and just kind of fly around. He didn't do that. He actually learned the procedure for flying airplanes, and he actually interacts with other people over the internet and flies with air traffic controllers simulated over the internet.
So before he actually got into the airplane, he did his homework.
That's right.
Your aviation center that you're president of, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, the Bill Smilie Aviation Center out at Sierra Sky Park Airport. That's actually a project name. Our corporate name is EAA Chapter 376. So we're part of the Experimental Aircraft Association. Bill Smilie created Sierra Sky Park in 1946. It was the first residential air park in the world. And we use that unique story to encourage kids when they come out to us for a free airplane flight. We point out when Bill Smilie started telling people he wanted to create this place where airplanes can land on the runway, taxi out to their house, and park at their house. People told him he was crazy. You can't do that. So he had the passion, the desire to do it. So we encourage kids to find a passion, a desire, something to drive their lives. And then we also use the education piece that to be a pilot, you have to know a lot of different subject areas. Therefore, all of these subject areas that you're learning in school are important. So don't just stay in school, but do well in school.
A lot of people may be intimidated by flying, by airplanes, especially at a young age. What do you have to say to that?
You know what happens a lot of times, young people or even adults come out to our events and they're anticipating going for their first airplane flight. Some are very calm, some are very excited, some are antsy, nervous, but we find very consistently when they go for the flight, it's more the excitement and the enjoyment, and when they're up in the air, they find that their fears just were not justified and not needed. And many people come to the airplane afraid of it and get out of the airplane thinking, wow, I want to do that again. That was amazing.
Are a lot of people afraid of flying because it's dangerous, or because there's misconceptions out there that the plane might drop or something?
Misconceptions is really the key thing, because when an airplane has a problem, has an accident, has a crash, it makes big news. We hear about it. We don't hear about how many cars had serious accidents that day, or how many motorcycles, or how many skateboards, or how many pedestrians. So compared to other activities that people do in their life, it's really not that dangerous, but it has an element of risk.
Michael, you're calm, and we're going to watch a video in a little bit, but actually after I ask you this next question, but you're calm up there. In the video I noticed you were very calm. You weren't nervous. I mean, you were in control. You're not afraid of heights, obviously.
No.
What advice do you have to give to the younger generation out there about being afraid of heights or being afraid of airplanes?
Well, there's really not a reason to be afraid of heights. I mean, most of the stuff that happens in an airplane, like accidents, stuff like that, is pilot error. It's not necessarily the airplane malfunctioning somehow. People think that the wings are going to fall off or something, you're just going to crash. That doesn't really happen. You see all the videos that we've came out with, and we don't have any problems. Most of the errors that would happen is a pilot error. They've done something wrong. They've done something to hurt the passengers or the airplane.
And I can't just get over the fact that this young kid is 14 years old, and he's already doing something that a lot of people haven't done, and that's fly a plane. Let's go ahead and watch this video, and then we'll come back and...
Let me give you one piece before you show this video. I want to point out, this was his first time in the airplane with me. This was his second time in a small airplane.
Interesting.
This was not years of experience in a small airplane. This is his second experience in a small airplane.
Let's show the video, because I want the audience to actually see this as well.
Okay, Miko, your feet on the rudder pedals, please. So here's your throttle. Just crack it a little bit to get us rolling, and then take us all the way to the end and keep us on the line.
Ready?
Yep, go. Lighten the nose wheel a little bit. So we need some right rudder. You got the ball way off to the right. Want to do the radio communications going into Madera?
Sure.
Madera traffic, Skyhawk number 6990, X-ray entering left base only 30, Madera.
Madera traffic, Arrow 904, 901 November, just departed 30, climbing out left downwind.
Get us down to 80 miles an hour. There's the plane that we were just talking to.
I see him. You want me to call left base right now?
Yes.
Madera traffic, Skyhawk number 698, X-ray on left base only 30, Madera. All turning final?
Yep.
Madera traffic, Skyhawk number 698, X-ray turning final only 30, Madera.
Get us down to 70 miles an hour.
Alright. Traffic, Skyhawk number 698, X-ray clear runway 30, Madera.
That is tremendous. I mean, he was so calm in there and very collective. I have a question I've always asked. How do you know how far you are from the airport? I mean, if I was in the cockpit, I would have no idea how far I am from the airport.
Well, you do have to learn that. You can. There's landmarks. There's the main streets around San Joaquin Valley are a half mile or a mile apart. We have GPS instruments. We have radio. We have our charts to look at. So we have ways of knowing that. But that is one of the key things that a new pilot is learning, how to navigate, how to know where they're at. It's not unusual for a student pilot to go up in the air and then the instructor says, okay, take us back. And they look around, I have no idea where we are.
When you were up there, do you have a good view? I mean, do you see a lot of stuff up there?
Yes. You got to be really alert when you're flying in the air. You got to watch out for other airplanes.
And you said something key, you have to be alert. So, I mean, how do you do that, or why is that important?
You just don't really do a lot of, goofing off, talking. You need to look out and fly the airplane.
So, tell us about this program a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of partners involved in making this happen. I was reading something you had sent me earlier about, someone is paying for some of the fuel, and, talk about the sponsors, because without them, this is difficult to do.
Well, there you're touching into something that I've got to tell Miko about here in a minute that he doesn't know about. But for our Young Eagles program, when we take kids for a free airplane flight, actually there are not sponsors for that. The pilots themselves pay all of those expenses. So the pilots are providing their airplanes and they pay the fuel, and they're spending their time to take kids up for what for most of them is their first airplane flight. And it's a real joy.
What do you get out of it? I mean, you're volunteering your time. Obviously, you like flying. It's your plane.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get out of this?
I get a satisfaction of passing the joy of flying onto young people and adults, for that matter. It's enjoyable to teach that, to share that to someone, to just go up myself and fly around. And frankly, after a while, it can get kind of boring. There's no purpose to that. There's no point to that. Some people fly airplanes because they are traveling somewhere. They need to get from point A to point B. Well, I just like handling the plane and being in control of it. So taking other people up for flights and letting them have the controls and talking them through it is just something that I enjoy.
People who don't know, there's actually a second pilot. You can actually control the plane. So at any time, if let's say Michael falls asleep or daydreams, which he's not going to do based on what I've seen so far in the video, you can control that airplane.
That's right. We have full controls on both sides. So because of that, I could, to this point, I could have allowed Miko to fly in the left seat. The left seat kind of has an aura about it because it's typically where the pilot in command sits. As far as my insurance is concerned and the FAA is concerned, I am pilot in command whether I'm in left seat or right seat because my plane has full controls on either side. So I've been holding this little carrot out in front of Miko for a while, telling him that once he starts taking lessons, I'm going to let him fly in the left seat and I'll sit in the right seat. Yeah, so we've got a step closer to that. There are people in the aviation community that have seen this video, and they have approached me. I didn't go out and solicit them. They approached me. So, Miko, we've got one local flight instructor who has volunteered to teach you for free.
Wow! Congratulations.
Ooh.
Well, I can't tell you on the show here. He wants to keep a little bit of anonymity. That's one of the things about doing things like this is you do something nice and everyone else wants it.
So for free, you're going to get that free. Tell me how you feel right now.
Oh, it's crazy.
But there's more. Hold on.
There's more. There's more. There's another local aviation business. You know him, and I'm also not going to identify him. He has offered to pay half of your fuel expense for your lessons up to $200.
There you go. Free lessons, free fuel. You know what? And I want to stop you right here. and ask you this question. Fuel, is it expensive for these planes?
Yeah, it's $5.85 in that neighborhood, $6, and we use per gallon. And this plane uses almost 9 gallons per hour.
Okay, so a trip to Madeira, this trip to Madeira and back, how much gas are we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about $20 probably.
That's not bad at all.
Not bad.
So
no.
congratulations, that's free instruction, and then you get someone paying for half of the gas. Anything else?
Yeah, there's another piece. Well, in order to do all that, you've got to have a plane to use, all right? So I've talked with my insurance company and the FAA, and we have figured out a way to make it work so that you can use my airplane for the lessons, and you got half your fuel covered. You have to come up with half of the fuel cost.
I just got goosebumps. Do you know what just happened, right? You've got free lessons, you've got free plane, and you've got half the gas. So did your hard work and your concentration, did it pay off?
Yes.
What do you have to say to other 14-year-olds right now, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, other young adults who, instead of concentrating on something, are out there not even caring about their future and having fun and doing whatever?
Just do it. Do whatever you want. Go. If you have a dream, go ahead and follow it. Don't get held back.
Can you tell us how proud his mom is? Because, you know, she's in the back of the studio right now, so she probably heard the exciting news. How proud is this young man's mom?
Oh, she's very proud, and that is a big reason why he is where he is, because she has encouraged him in this passion that he's had for many years. And that's one message I'd like to get across to other parents is if your child has a passion, an interest in something, help them along. Just let them go in that way, because what happens is as they show that passion and they do the work and they are focused on that thing that they're excited about, other people in their life will see that and step up to help them towards that goal. And that's what's happened here. Now, it's not a situation where another young person can just come up and say, hey, I want to sign up for that program. How do I get in line for what Miko was just given? It doesn't happen that way. You have to be going after your passion, your driving interest, and whatever comes to you down the road is a separate issue. Just go after what you're dreaming for. Now, Miko, in order to do that, there's something else you're going to need. Your own key.
Oh, so you're getting your own key.
If he takes it. I don't know, he hasn't taken it yet. I'm not sure he's really.
You better jump on that key. See, but you bring up a good point. A lot of times someone will do something, hope it brings attention, and take them to the next level. Here you have this young man. He's just doing what he wants to do. Right. He's passionate about it, and things are opening up. So other 14-year-olds out there, other young adults out there, go for your passion, and people are watching, basically, is what I've learned from this interview.
Right. Now, we do have one thing to offer the others out there, is that with the Bill Smilie Aviation Center, we are working to put together a summer aviation camp. We don't have all the details worked out, but I can just give out an email address that they can request to be on that notification list, and that gives an opportunity. So it's just doug@dougbets.com, and just say that you want to be on the aviation camp email list, and that's a way to get connected with us at a deeper level than our Young Eagles flights.
You mentioned parents and encouraging their children to do what they love or do what they're passionate for. You know, the airline industry, you always hear of mergers. There was a time years ago where it was like, wow, the airlines are struggling. But still, there's opportunity out there, would you say?
Yeah, there's huge opportunity in the airline industry right now because there's a massive amount of pilots that are retiring, and because of changes in the structure of how a person gets qualified to become a pilot, the airlines are actually struggling to find pilots. There's a huge shortage right now. So there are even airlines advertising airline-sponsored training, to where you interview with them, they hire you and help get you trained for becoming an airline pilot.
What's the age group for people wanting to get into the industry?
Well, in the neighborhood of 18 years old to, I think maybe, I don't know where their high-end cutoff for the entry is. It could be 30, 35, maybe 40. It's tough for older folks like you and I to step into becoming airline pilots at this point.
Tell us a little bit more about, the communication. In the video, we saw that, you were communicating with, Madeira, you were communicating with other pilots. How does that happen? I mean, you just pick up the microphone and you start talking?
Well, you have to know what frequency to deal with. Why don't you talk a little bit about tower controllers, approach controllers, and flight services?
Okay, well, when you're dealing with flight services, they give you weather briefings and stuff like that, and you can set up a flight plan. And what that does is they'll be looking out for you. So once you land, they've been seeing you on the radar or whatever, and once you land, you need to close that flight plan, because if you don't, they think that you're out there, you've probably crashed, so they're going to send out emergency crews. That's why flight services is actually pretty cool, because they've been tracking your flight the whole time you've been flying, so you have somebody watching your back. And then when dealing with tower, like coming into Fresno, you deal with approach control, which it kind of speaks for itself. When you're approaching the airport, you contact approach. You tell them what you want to do, like you want to land. That's basically what we do. We contact them, tell them where we are, what ADAS information we have, and we tell them if we want to land, if we want to do touch and go. They'll give us a squawk code, and that gives them our information on their radar screen. Once we get close enough to the airport, we switch over to the tower, which guides us all the way down to the runway, clears us to land on whichever runway is active. And then once we get on the ground, we contact ground control, which guides us to our parking area or wherever we want to go.
It's its own world. I know I've said this before several times. Flying and this whole, it's its own world out there, because you've got all this communication, you've got different airports. How far can this plane fly?
The plane can fly farther than I can. I need a break. But with the amount of fuel that it holds, it could fly 3.5, maybe 4 hours.
So what would be next for Michael here? I mean, going through the steps, what would be next for him as far as his training? What challenges would you throw his way?
Well, he'll start his training with an instructor. I'm not an instructor, so the time that he spent with me, he is learning things, but he can't log it. So he still has to go through all of the steps with an instructor. However, he may catch on quicker than the average student would, since he's had this bit of a head start. So with an instructor, you're required for 40 hours of time as a student pilot. Most people take more than that, because they need more than that to come up to speed. He'll probably get pretty close to that 40 hours. He cannot solo until his 16th birthday. So he'll be with an instructor or myself or another pilot, and he can take his flight practical test when he's 17. So he could get his license earliest possible at 17 years old. Then he would go on to build hours. His next step would be to become a flight instructor. He can turn around and start teaching, and therefore build his hours. Once he reaches I believe it's 1,800 hours or 1,500 hours to get an ATP, Air Transport Pilot Certificate, and that's when you can get hired by an airline.
What do your friends say, or what do people say? I mean, like 14-year-olds, they'll say, I went to the movies, I went to hang out with my friends. You've got this young man in the group that's going to say, hey, by the way, guess what I did? I flew to Madeira. What do your friends and your age group, the folks, say?
Well, I always tell them, after I get done flying, I just went flying half. I went flying to Madeira, and they're always like, why do you do that? Like, how do you do that? You're only 14, you can't fly an airplane, you can't drive a car. And it's just like, well, I'm doing it. So, I mean, I have video, I have proof, so I can show you, but they really don't care. Only some, I think I have one friend who's like, yeah, he's really into what I'm doing.
Doug, we're running out of time this week on the program, but what do you want to tell the parents out there again? And why should we get youth like this young man involved in flying?
Well, and it's not just flying, but if a youth is interested in flying, then encourage them in that direction and encourage them in whatever direction they're interested in. Because if you can build the hunger for that activity, that endeavor, whatever it is, that causes a need for education, a need for learning things. To fly a plane, there's math, reading, writing, science, physiology, chemistry, history, geography, meteorology. There's all kinds of academic subjects that are important for flying a plane. And those academic subjects are important for most endeavors in life. But when kids are just going through school without any kind of a passion or drive for their life, then there is no hunger or need for the education. And I think they just don't care that much about taking advantage of the free education that they get in our system. It's incredible what is just placed in front of them. We need to drive the hunger for that. And the way you do that is encouraging your kids towards whatever it is that they love or are passionate about, and just feed that interest.
Lastly, tell us about the center, the Aviation Center, and how people can get in touch with them.
Yeah, the Bill Smilie Aviation Center. We're located at Sierra Sky Park Airport. We've got a big 6,000 square foot building on Spats Avenue near the corner of Doolittle. And we don't have regular operating hours, but we have 7 Young Eagles rallies per year. And that's where we take kids for a free airplane flight from ages 8 years old to 17 years old. And we have other youth aviation programs that we are just in the realms of getting them rolling. So that's where you want to contact me on email, doug@dougbetts.com, and ask to be on our email list for that to find out about those new activities.
We're out of time. Both of you, thank you so much. Congratulations to you, young man.
Thanks.
That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. Thank you to the volunteer crew that made this production and every production possible. Our guests this week have been Doug Betts and Michael Murphy, both talking about flying airplanes. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
To our audience members listening on KFSR 90.7 FM, thank you for listening to us. To our audience members watching us on CMAC, Comcast 93, AT&T 99, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week for a new edition. Awesome. Done. Cool.